Okay, so just to introduce myself, firstly, my name is Nikki Wildin and I am the Direct Sourcing Manager for Mid-Counties Co-op. My colleague here with me is Georgia Gaston, part of the buying team for our Best of Our Counties team. And then delighted, the star of the show who's joining us is Jess Bourne. Thank you very much, Jess. How are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. So
right, thank you. So Jess, you're joining us from the gorgeous Hardwick farm, which I've been fortunate to visit many times, being just local to you in Gloucester. So 225 acres located between the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, which incidentally, for those of you who don't know, is actually one of the broadest and deepest canals in the world, in very close proximity to the River Severn. It's a beautiful farm, hedgerows, ancient orchards, woodlands, oak trees, and I know when I visited there, I just felt as though I'd stopped in time. It's timeless. And of course, the real stars of the show, which I'm hoping that you're going to be able to introduce us to, Jess, are the ladies. Are there any ladies near you this evening?
There are. I can go outside now. We can meet them later. Yeah, so at the moment the ladies are just coming out from afternoon milking, but yes. Some of the heifers are just by here. We can meet them later on.
Sure. Okay. Well, there are many unique things about yourself, Jess, and the great business and the brand that you have built. And having worked with you and known you, just for all the other participants, we first met back in 2009 when I began the journey to set up my own delicatessen in Gloucester, and that's where our friendship formed. And then I've had the pleasure of working with you, obviously when I was at Gloucester Services and now with Mid-Counties. So I've seen firsthand the difference that you make to the local community and to the local economy, but most importantly, the quality and the care and that you have for the love of your animals and how that really is the priority, because you do it all yourselves. So would you like to first of all just share a little bit of history about your family and how you started?
Yeah, so my family came here in 1954, farmers here, and so I joined my dad back after university then in 2002, just a normal dairy farm, normal organic dairy farm. It's always been a very low intensity approach to farming here, but we got full organic status in 2000. We then sadly didn't have an organic contract for our milk, so in order to survive, we did something probably unthinkable at the time and went off and bought a second-hand bottling plant and converted a shed and started bottling our own milk in 2006. We created our brand, Jess's Lady, to kind of tell the story of what we do here in the farm and the ladies and our relationship with them. We've never actually changed anything to fit the brand or kind of fit into any current trends. We've literally just told consumers about what we do here, and it seems to really kind of capture people's imaginations, which has been brilliant. It's been a real success.
And it is, I think, what really makes you stand out is the fact that you are like a single estate vodka or gin, really, is that you do actually everything on the farm, and that one of your greatest USPs is that because you have the bottling plant there, is that your time that it takes from the milk once you've completed the morning milking to get to one of our shelves is literally 24 hours. It can be on one of our shelves the next day.
It's literally on the road to be delivered to you guys within 4 hours of leaving the cows. Liquid milk and then the kefir and yogurt and buttermilk, and again delivered fresh. So it's got a good month shelf life on it. So it does give us complete control over the product we're producing and allows us to kind of chef with milk, if you like. We don't add anything at all to any of our products. There's no sugars, stabilizers, anything. We just rely on actually the flavors of the milk and the way we farm, and just letting the kind of milk speak for itself, really. So a lot of people say it's milk like you remember as a child, and it is actually full of flavor and just doesn't taste like the sort of the mainstream homogenized stuff.
Yeah. Well, what I should have said at the beginning as well is that as much as I'm going to kind of ask you some questions for the first bit of the session, that obviously everybody else who's logged onto the call can pop some messages in the chat, and also some questions as well that we will open up, because I know that people are really, really keen to ask you about your business and where you see the future going as well. And certainly in an industry that views milk very much as cheap and homogenous, as a cheap commodity, you've been a real trailblazer in bucking that trend and creating some high quality cultured products that are used in high-end restaurants, and most recently, as we saw on James Martin's Saturday Kitchen, where your products there were highlighted as well. And what impact did that have on you, and obviously on sales as well?
I think certainly people are starting to recognise our brand more and kind of what we stand for and what it means, and also perhaps trust more. But actually, Jess does exist. The ladies is just one small farm still, and we are doing what we say on the tin, really. But it all does help to just build brand awareness, and to just connect with consumers more and more.
Sure. And Mid-Counties, as a cooperative, we've obviously committed to ensuring that dairy farmers are paid a fair price for milk. And something that's very, very important to all of us here is obviously the welfare of our small suppliers, our small producers. And, I know that you're doing some great work as well with local farms adjacent to you and supporting dairy farms that haven't been successful. Can you share how you're doing that?
So obviously, people who unfortunately haven't been able to survive in agriculture by themselves have a huge knowledge and skill set, which is very, very useful to us on the farm. So various local farmers come and help us kind of part time, because obviously there's only so many hours in a day and so many of me to get around all the jobs. So it's a really good way of a lot of those people have ended up, keeping their farms going and stuff by sort of having part-time employment with us, and then they continue their farming role at home as well.
Yeah, I think it is very, very true, isn't it, that not many people now do actually make a living out of farming full-time. There is normally somebody who goes out and does the day job, so to speak, just to kind of keep the pennies coming in.
There is, yeah, no, unfortunately it is a kind of necessity that people kind of do have to subsidise the farming income quite a lot to survive.
Sure. So your ladies, how many ladies have you got currently, Jess?
We've got about 70 ladies at the moment, so they're all our milking herd. We rear all our own replacements, which we don't need too many, because our cows live on average 4 times the national average length of life of a dairy cow. We believe a huge amount of that is down to the fact we don't actually let them have their first calf until they're fully grown themselves. They're about 3.5 years old by the time they actually have their first calf. During that 3.5 years, they're just growing up at pasture on the farm, just having a very relaxed lifestyle. Once they enter the herd, they're not encouraged to sort of have a calf every year. It's kind of extended calving intervals, quite low yield. And yeah, we look after them every day, milk them every day, and just a very relaxed place, hopefully. They're never fully housed, so even in winter they have access to yards and extracted social interaction. Because I do believe cow and animal mental health, and they do have to be happy, not only productive, but just to make it morally acceptable to have this business part as well. So yeah, the labour lines are very important to us. They are long and happy ones.
Yeah. I think that's something that's really important that we wanted to be able to share with some people who aren't aware that actually there's many dairy farmers and many cows that actually don't have access to outside. The fact that your cows do, even in the winter, is really quite unique, isn't it?
It is, and I think they're happier for it. Yeah, they are a happy bunch. The most general kind of business protocol for dairy farmers in the UK would be to calve when they're sort of 2.5 years old. Obviously, there's variations, but that would be standard. And the national average is they have 2.2 lactations, so they only live to about 6. Really, is the kind of national. ours lived at about 12 to 15. We did actually have one of the country's oldest milking cows, Katie, who was 21. And yeah, they're just not pushing their reproduction. They're just having a good time, I hope.
Well, having seen the back scratcher that they have, and the fact that they've each got their own personalities, isn't it? And you can even see and tell how they're feeling, and they can tell how you're feeling as well, isn't it? They are quite unique.
Yeah, they're very intuitive. Yeah, and they'll so a lot of calves that grow up together in like next to each other will often retain like lifelong friendships and stuff. And on that subject, all our bull calves and heifer calves are all kept as equals on the farm, so we keep them all for about 5 to 6 months. So the boys are just as welcome here and they're treated entirely equally.
So the two bulls, who are very famous, I see them a lot on social media, yeah, Diesel and Curly. Diesel being the long-standing one, is that correct?
Curly is a few feet away as we speak, so yeah, no, he's a bit of a character. So he's the younger one. Diesel's a slightly older bull, both very, very gentle-natured. And Diesel's a dairy bull, so particularly dairy bulls are normally quite ferocious, but I just think he's never known anybody being behave ferociously to him, so he's very, very kind still.
Yeah. Well, Georgia and I are sitting here, and we're surrounded by some of the lovely products that obviously are sitting behind you on the shelf there that everybody can see, with some of your awards that you have won as well. One of the newest products to the addition to the range is the Kefir, which is a low-fat dairy drink full of good bacteria. And as a lady of a certain age, menopausal lady, I'm really glad to say actually that it's now part of my daily diet because it helps with having good digestion and reduces bloating. And these are really quite unique that you've actually, again, as part of your brand, that you moved into producing some quite unique products. And so how do they fit into your overall kind of plan and your milking on a day-to-day basis? How do you know how much we're going to need in our stores?
We make everything to order on the farm. It's all they allow us to say we don't add any they allow us to create flavours just through the cooperative process. But they also allow us to extend the shelf life. So there's a month shelf life on the poultry milk and the yogurt. We produce it so is an advanced retail situation. And it gives us that extended shelf life, which is a huge advantage, because our milk lasts as long as real milk should. It lasts about 7 or 8 days from day of pack, but obviously compared to the mainstream homogenized stuff, which is 3 weeks or so, it has a limited shelf life. So the culture products just allow us to kind of add some value to our products and also add some shelf life and hopefully make it more attractive for a retail situation across the country.
Sure. So you mentioned there about homogenization. So your milk and your products are unhomogenized. So what's the difference? What does that mean?
So homogenization makes it safe. So homogenization basically breaks up its actual molecular structure of the milk, whereas pasteurization makes it safe. So pasteurization heats it up above 73 degrees, and this removes a lot of the sort of pathogenic bacteria, which might be present in milk or potentially so. Homogenization actually breaks up the molecular structure and stops it separating out, so you don't get a cream line in the milk, and the actual colour of the milk is changed. You might notice that supermarket milk is quite a lot whiter, and that's because the actual molecular structure has been broken up. Another effect is that it makes it very difficult for us to digest. So a lot of people who think they're actually intolerant of cow's milk actually find that unhomogenized milk or our milk they're actually fine with.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that is interesting, because obviously the number of intolerances or actually sometimes people who think that they have an intolerance is on the increase, isn't it? and there is a trend for people to actually be purchasing, soya milk, almond milk, when actually people don't have intolerances because they actually do feel that it's better for them. So, with what you've just shared there, that really is quite interesting. So what's your thoughts about this current trend towards these milks if you haven't got an allergy or intolerance?
Of course, as you say, they have a place where people have genuine allergies, but there are a lot of people purchasing them and expecting them to have the same kind of nutrient profile as milk, but actually they are juices effectively of a nut or a seed or something. And actually, milk has a huge amount of vitamins in it, particularly full fat milk. And the Kefir has 25%, I think, of your daily vitamin D recommended intake in just one shot. So I think people perhaps just need to remember that they might have milk in the name, but then actually not milks, and just treat them as such. Just to remember that fact, really.
Yeah, I think, I'm old enough and fortunate enough to be part of the generation that received free milk at schools, as the, nutritional profile of milk was just so impressive and really kind of highlighted then. And, it's something that, I would certainly like for, my children have missed it, but certainly for my grandchildren. I mean, do you ever think that would return?
I'd like to think it would return. I think that is a comment about our milk that it's like people remember as a child, although hopefully colder, they say, than in the classroom setting. I think it would be, a positive thing, certainly for the milk industry, if we did, bring it back more, get people into the habit of consuming more milk.
Yeah. Well, one of the challenges that Georgia and I are kind of having on a daily basis at the moment is that when the sun shines, and I know it's not been around this last week, but when the sun does shine, is that it's a good challenge to have because our stores are even busier. But then we see a surge in demand for cream and strawberries, and obviously with Wimbledon as well. So how do you balance that? Because obviously you've got your small herds, and you can milk them twice a day, but there is only so much capacity you have. So how can our members help you with regards to that balancing act?
I think to produce the amount of cream, which is in huge demand in the summer months and all year round, really, it's very very popular, Jess's Ladies Cream. So in order to produce it, we do produce a lot of skimmed milk. And to utilise that, we make cultured buttermilk, which is really popular with chefs and bakers, and not actually produced by many dairies. So it is, once people realise we do it, they're normally quite excited to find that they found a producer of it. And so products that use the skimmed milk help us to balance the just to balance the scales, really, because actually to produce cream and then put the skimmed milk as waste virtually doesn't much over break even for us. So in terms of a business model, it's not sort of a long-term proposition, really. So we do have to kind of ensure that our semi-skim sales and our buttermilk sales kind of balance out the cream production. So it's really important that people do also sort of stock and purchase products that contain skim milk alongside the cream.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to be actually launching a promotion in stores for the school holidays with regards to your products, so that if customers actually do buy one of the creams, that they can buy a skimmed milk as well, just to try and get that messaging across in order to support yourselves and just kind of, like you say, balancing out as well. So it is really interesting, and I remember the times back at Christmas when you were just desperately you only had so much milk to go around, and again ensured that you looked after your loyal and small kind of customers first by actually getting their orders in to ensure that they took priority rather than the people who only maybe just bought your cream for Christmas or just that one occasion. So I think it's so important, and it's a great example of doing good business, which I always admire you for as well. So thank you for that. Well, before we kind of open up the floor to questions, and I'm not sure if we've got any in the chat yet. Is there anything else that you kind of really wanted to share? I know we're really keen just to see if the ladies are out there, if they're finished milking yet, and if you can see and show the rest of the people on the call your beautiful farm, because it really is stunning.
So Curly the bull is just outside here with his so he's just met his first. Sorry, I just undo the. I'm not sure where he'll be, mind, so he's somewhere. Sorry, I'm not a very good photographer. He's hiding.
You're fine.
Curly, seriously. He's sorry, that's my office. That's not very pretty. I'll just shut the gate. We'll just go and he's on the other side of a hedge. The flies are quite bad today, so they're probably
hiding.
He might come in a minute. Gep.
No. We can't. Well, we can.
I'm so small on my screen.
We can't see him.
How curly, honestly. Hang on.
Never mind, Jess. Thank you for trying.
Sorry.
No, thanks for trying.
That was Maria. The cows might be going out soon.
What time do you start milking, Jess?
So we start milking. So we milk twice a day. So we milk about 5:30 in the morning, and then we finish about 6:30, 7 at night. Mm-hmm. Depends. It's a little bit. Had to get a relief in today, so
that's because of us. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, I shouldn't be
you said that you started earlier this morning as well because of us, because of what you. So thank you for taking the time. And I also wanted to mention that, I mean, now it's been 16 months since the beginning of the pandemic. And again, you were one of those suppliers that we worked really, really closely with, firstly in those initial weeks and months, and then actually throughout the summer as well, because see, when the central supply chain, in particular in late March, in those early weeks, when some of our stores were without milk for a couple of days, and myself and Georgia were on the phone to yourself and Mudwalls, the distributor, in order to secure additional milk to get to our stores as well. And then throughout the summer, when so many of the producers that we work with also work with Gloucester Services, which I know you can see from your farm as well, isn't it? Is that actually when they closed, the impact that had on your business, isn't it? Because such a significant amount of your supply went there, and we made the commitment then to you that we actually continue to take for the duration of the summer allocations of milk and kefir and buttermilk, because then we were seeing that surge in baking, so people were really, really keen to get hold of the buttermilk and obviously the yogurt as well. And really, what difference did that make to you?
It made a huge difference. Obviously, one of our major customers shutting overnight wasn't great news, and there was obviously a huge amount of different bad news going on at that time. But yeah, so it did make a huge difference to us, and actually, and stocking the buttermilk and the kefir made a huge difference to our margins. And yeah, we survived to continue to prosper into the future. So I don't know if we'd have done that without Co-op kind of taking on some of the slack that had been created by our other stores closing. So we do supply quite a few restaurants as well. Obviously that all finished overnight as well. But actually by hook or by crook, the year actually turned out to be quite a prosperous one in some ways, business wise.
Yes, and certainly, the love for local, we all know, we saw it ourselves, we're still seeing it now. We're really, really proud. Obviously, we saw that increased sales of 16 million, our contribution to the society, and that this year that we are still, performing very well, and that still customers are choosing to buy local, and that it wasn't just, for the pandemic, that people have found and have really identified with the values, and are continuing to pay that extra few pennies more in order to ensure that they're supporting small business that really makes a difference. So it makes us very, very happy and very, very privileged to be able to do that and to work with people like yourself. It's one of the best things about our job, really, is knowing that we can make a difference. I think now I can see we've got loads of questions, so I'm going to hand over to Georgia just to read those out, because she's got better eyes than me.
Okay, so as Nikki said, we've got lots of really interesting questions. So I'll go straight in. So we've got one here from Peter. He said, "Did I hear the milk is packaged in bottles like in the old days? Reusable glass bottles is what I meant." So obviously, Jess, that's not something that you do currently. To us at Mid County, is it something that you would be interested in doing, or is it something that a future plan maybe?
I think in the future, like, I guess in the moment, I'd say there's no perfect packaging, and in a retail situation, actually, a glass bottle would have to be delivered in multiple vans because of the weight and also the amount of reuses that bottle gets in that situation is quite limited. So actually, overall environmental impact is not necessarily as positive as it would be in a true kind of doorstep reuse situation. And I guess with regards to plastic, I guess considering the overall farming ethos and the way that we produce homegrown forage, we don't buy in straight, we don't wrap anything in plastic, and we bottle everything on site, so there's no factories, there's no storage. So all of those negative impacts are all not existing on our farm. So probably we like to think that a recyclable plastic bottle kind of is offset by all the positives of buying our milk because of the way we farm and the way we produce it.
Fantastic. Okay. This isn't a question, it's a compliment. So Beth has said the buttermilk is amazing in soda bread and cake. So have you got, Jess, any recipes that you like to use certain products, so any of your own, so the buttermilk or the kefir? Have you got any products that you love to create at home using your own milk and cream?
So the buttermilk, we're actually currently kind of looking at different. It's really really good for smoothies because the buttermilk is naturally completely fat free, but actually it's quite thick. So yeah, you can make quite nice milkshakes and stuff from it, and smoothies that are actually fat free. So that's kind of a current kind of thing that we're kind of giving out recipes for and stuff. So
brilliant. Okay. We've just had from Amanda in Bolton. She said, "Great to meet you again. I really appreciate happy transparency as an assurance when I had chemotherapy. Jess, can I say if your produce is happy, transparent, compliant?"
It is, yeah. Yes, we're fully organic, and I think we're compliant with everything. So we're a member of Happily. Yes, I like to think if anyone turned up any day of the year to come and visit the farm, they'd be happy when they left. It was a nice setup and a good farm.
Do you feel that being completely transparent with your consumers, your public, do you feel that that's really important?
I do think it's important. I think it quite literally is our face on the packaging, and like being absolutely happy with every single product that leaves and having a huge amount of pride in what we do is really important. And I think I mentioned earlier that people are quite, I think, increasingly suspicious of brands, and then they're not necessarily what they say they are, and they're kind of perhaps trying to make out they're smaller than they are, or just kind of some can have a bit of artistic license, so they do quite like it when they find actually it is kind of literally as it says on the tin, and that's it really.
Wonderful. Okay, so from Paul here, to what extent do you find health regulations frustrating and work against small independent operators like yourself from a competitive perspective? That's a tricky one by the sounds of it.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't actually. Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. So Paul has asked, to what extent do you find health regulations frustrating and work against small independent operators like yourselves from a competitive perspective?
I think so we don't, the EHO come for like annual inspection and stuff. We've never had any issues with any testing. So I think we've involved them from day one, from when we started planning the dairy, which I think is important. I think, you know, the health side is important. They are like protecting the public and making sure no nasties get into the food chain. So I don't find them too much of a hindrance, but we do go to great lengths to find that there's never any hiccups. So yeah, they haven't, you know, sort of got any reason to make our lives difficult. And also, if I get, you know, any inquiries to say, you know, is the milk, you know, safe to drink? You know, I'm expecting a baby or anything, I can hand on heart say, no, yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Wonderful. So there's lots and lots and lots of compliments here, Jess, which we will send over to you after the call. People really raving about your product. There is one, and I think you may have touched on this earlier in the call, but just in case somebody's joined a little bit later, Imran has said, lovely to see you. Hope you're really well. How does the milk stay for 1 month shelf life? So how does it stay that long?
So it's just power of the cultures, really. So literally there's nothing artificial is added to it. So it's just different incubation periods and different cultures, and it just is a natural thing. I guess that's why it these products kind of originated in countries that didn't have refrigeration, perhaps necessarily. So and I think that's sort of why they came about, was to preserve milk for a longer shelf. So yeah, so the buttermilk, the kefir and the yogurt all have a month shelf life, and that is just entirely natural. Sometimes longer than that. People do eat it after the date, but you know, I shouldn't recommend it. But
Wonderful. We're coming towards the end of the questions. This is actually the last one that we've got. So if anybody's got any others, please do send them through. So Christopher has asked, what's the leaning or balance of your products, of your dairy products? Is it towards milk or to make much more refined products such as yogurt, beer, smoothies, etc.?
in the future or currently, or
currently, I think is the here.
So, I guess historically we started off with liquid milk. I think just as dairy farmers who kind of went at this slightly blindly. That was where we started out. Obviously, that will always be part of our offering. But I think the trend is increasingly towards, perhaps trend is the wrong word, but the actual the sort of the extended shelf life, and also the sort of the margins and the ability to send it around stores and it still have an acceptable shelf life for quite a good amount of time, is a huge one. And there just is such a trend at the moment into gut health and kind of natural immunity and stuff. So the kefir is literally, it's like doubling every like 3 weeks from our point of view. It's just, you know, it's absolutely incredible. I don't think we ever expected that, but obviously it's just seems to have come along at the right time. So either chance or good planning, I'm not sure which, but yeah.
Wonderful. We've got another question here from Imran. Do all farms make the milk the same way from Cornwall to Scotland?
In terms of farming, so most farms in the UK are red tractor assured. So there's different like tiers of assurance, I guess. So we're organic, which has certain assurances, and you have inspections and stuff to go with it. So I guess at a farm level, the UK has a very good welfare standard. But I guess our sort of personal thing is we like, you know, like the cows to always be outside and always to be happy cows, and actually, you know, cows can have their needs met of actually necessarily going outside, if that makes sense. So a lot of the UK's dairy cows have high welfare, but they won't necessarily always go outside. And I think that's sort of an important part of being a cow. You should be able to go outside and lead a natural lifestyle. Certainly on-farm bottling is very rare. There's very, very few of us. And that I think is like key to our sort of, we tell our story of our farm on the one hand, but actually having the bottling plant allows us to retain complete control over it and give people the sort of the real thing when it actually hits the shelf. It's yeah, it's super fresh and still full of flavour.
Georgia, can I just I've got a couple there that are just asking us what of our stores sell Jess's products, and is there plans to sell them in any of their others? Because Julie's saying she'd love to buy some, but it's not selling in her local store.
So currently it's in between approximately 24 to 40 stores. And yeah, we are hoping and planning to expand, especially in the summer. We can share those stores, you know, we can share that with, if we share that with you later, Karen, and possibly we can share that with the group so that people can see that. It is a challenge, isn't it, Jess? And it's something that we talk about a lot because the way that we actually work with the distributor as well, and getting the product to stores within the window that we want. And also we're currently looking at offering a mixed case, because that will really help us, because currently we work and like offer a case of 12, which for some of our smaller stores is a little bit difficult for them to manage. So we've just got our heads together where we're having a look if we can do a mixed case of the milk, the kefir and the buttermilk and the yogurt, which will really help. And also later on in the year, kind of watch this space that there is a project that we're all working on as well that we will open you up to seeing some of our best of our counties products into some of the smaller stores as well. So yeah.
Yeah, we can. We'll have a list of everybody that's booked on today. So any questions we missed, we can address afterwards and send out to you. And as Nicola says, a list of the stores that do sell Jess's products are out now. But I don't know if you've noticed there's a hand up. Harry's got his hand up.
I was just going to come to Henry now and see if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have done. Right. Hi there. I couldn't see in the distance of the cows the breed as a matter of interest.
So the main herd is British Friesian and Brown Swiss cross. And the bull out in the field is Hereford. We do have a red British Friesian bull on site as well.
Yeah, I'd be a bit worried if you had a Friesian bull running around in the field when you wander around. Yeah. Can I ask the yield? I trained when I started in my life of work. I was a herdsman and graded up to a dairy manager, but then I did a change of course and became a retailer. So I was rather intrigued that you are retailing your own milk. Do you retail at the farm gate as well, or has Co-op taken that?
Yeah, we have an honesty box at the farm gate. And we also sell our kefir direct, sort of mail order, sort of e-commerce, which is something we sort of grew in during lockdown as well in order to survive. And the yield of the cows is about 6,000 litres on average, but obviously there's a wide variation. Cows are never really got rid of because they're low yielding, and there's some that are maybe high yielding. It's kind of very much a very relaxed lifestyle. It's not too intensive.
And when do they become uneconomic, dare one ask?
So our cows average sort of 12 to 15 or 16 years.
Yeah.
I think for as long as they're getting calf, basically, obviously, and produce milk, that's really the one criteria. Obviously, I have got about 4 retired ladies who don't produce milk, who are just my pets and old friends. But we can't, can't obviously keep them all. But they do have, good long lives.
Yeah. Have you considered at all? You do cream. I mean, unfortunately, I don't. I'm in the southern Co-op area. Even though I'm a member of the MEC, I'm completely out of area. Do you do clotted cream, or have you considered doing clotted cream?
So we do extra thick cream, so it's about the same fat content as clotted cream. It's just not cooked, so it hasn't got the crust on the top. Again, we're just always striving to get enough cream whilst balancing out with the demand for milk and the other products as well. So, so at the moment we are kind of at our maximum cream production, and we're just kind of looking to try and sell some of the excess skimmed as these different value-added products would be a huge help to making our to making profit, really. Because producing a lot of cream is a very expensive business.
Yeah. No, my wife set up a clotted cream business when I was milking the cows, but and it did very well, but it was all that's some years ago, and it was on the edge of a big urban area, so it's quite useful, easy sales. The other thing I was going, no, I think that's probably I've covered it for now. Thank you very much. I look forward to trying all the products when I come up, presumably the next MEC meeting, which is in Warwick, and maybe we'll have it on the table. I'll put that forward, please.
Of course, yeah.
Thank
you, Henry.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got a couple more here. Another one from Christopher. Is there anything you'd like to ask of Mid-Counties to help you with your sales? Would you be keen to do product sampling in a couple of your Mid-County stores?
Yes, obviously, time is always quite short, but product sampling is the #1 way to sell our produce, because it does take mainstream dairy produce. I think in terms of helping us, I mean, Mid-Counties Co-op have been absolutely, as I mentioned earlier, instrumental in our business success. I think it is just working on the sort of Kefir sales and the buttermilk sales, just to try to even out this sort of slight cream imbalance that we have. And also semi-skimmed milk, which obviously is a very popular milk for a customer to buy. So hopefully if we can even out those, it would be absolutely perfect. But obviously, as it stands at the moment, you're still amazing customers to us.
And just going to interject there. So also in our 3 of our Cotswold stores, Chipping Norton, Moreton and the Marsh, and Bourton on the Water, our in-store chefs have just actually come back to the business. So over the course of the summer, they will be using some of Jess's products as well, in order to incorporate them into recipes and to encourage people to try as well. So that's a great opportunity that we have there to introduce people who haven't tried them into the brand. So that's great.
Okay, and then a second one from Chris as well, which kind of follows on. He said, forgive me if I've missed it, but how big is the herd of your cows? Do you have interest in overseas EU markets, or will the UK be sufficient?
So the herd is about 75 cows. We still do have some milk left to process, if you like, so we do have capacity to take on more shops and to produce more product. It's amazing when you come to process it yourself. Actually, 75 cows is obviously a very small herd by today's standard, but processing every litre yourself, it becomes quite a large amount of milk. But yeah, the herd's 75. In terms of overseas markets, I'm before the EU vote and stuff, there was talk of some cultured buttermilk going abroad, but it never kind of came about. Obviously, these sort of uncertain times, we'll see how it all pans out, but we'd never say never.
Wonderful. And this looks to be the last question. Do you have a glut at any time of the year, or is it even production throughout the year?
So we carve all year round. So yeah, it's quite an even milk profile. We do have a bit of a surge in the summer. With yourselves, we need more cream, and through Gloucester Services, which is just up the road, obviously there is a surge of holiday traffic in the summer. But generally, it's all year round carving, and quite kind of, again, we're not too strict on carving intervals or how quickly they get in calf again. I quite like a more extended carving interval. It kind of stresses the animal out less, and means that they actually live longer. So that's kind of our aim here. So it is a pretty even profile.
Wonderful. Okay, so I said that was the last one. It's not. We've got another one that's come through. The question is, are your bottles reused by the dairy? Obviously, they're plastic. Do you have anybody that brings them back?
So they're all recyclable, but they're not. Because they're poly bottles, you can't get them hot enough to sterilise them without them crumpling. So they are all made of a portion of recycled plastic, and you can recycle them in your weekly collections, but there's no ability to sterilise them to the extent that we'd need to be able to reuse them, unfortunately.
Okay, another question. Do you work with other farmers, and would you ever be part of a farmers cooperative?
So as I mentioned, we have like some farmers who work for us and work alongside us. I think in terms of our production will always just be from our cows here, and we'll always remain true to our brand in that way. And I don't think we'd ever take in any milk from elsewhere, because I think that's key to what we do. But I know all the cows, it's super fresh, and also I know what we do on a daily basis, again, so I can give honest answers to customers of how well the animals are looked after. As soon as you start to kind of dissipate that out, you do lose a bit of control over that.
It's interesting though, Jess, because I remember, and obviously again being part of the small business, small producer family that we like to think that we are, is that, you know, we have seen you over the years, you know, with Liz and Brian, McNabb Jones, you know, God Sells Cheese, and even Jonathan Crump, isn't it? You know, sharing deliveries and helping each other out, and that's something that you all seem to do without really thinking that you're helping each other. It's just almost instinctive to do things like that. Would that be fair to say?
So we've shared with all the people you mentioned, and as you know, there's a few ones in the pipeline. We have vans. We only have one van actually servicing all of our deliveries. But yeah, you know, if there's space in the van, I'm more than happy to take other people's products as well.
When you mention the van, that takes me back to I think it would have been 2010, 2011, when you just started supplying my deli, and I always remember Simon, who was delivering for you then, because he was taking the milk up to the Natural History Museum. Is that right? In London, you supplied them. Is that correct? And then he delivered, and he came out, and somebody painted your van.
Yeah. It was, yeah. No, that was actually, yeah. No, I was delivering myself in London. It's probably one of the last times we couriered it after that. Yeah,
yeah.
My van nicked, so I had to go back on the train. Tragic scenes.
Yeah. Tragic scenes. Yeah, not with all the empty crates, I hope. No, they'd gone in the van.
For my delivery book. But yeah, I used to drive the London deliveries sort of overnight on a Thursday, but it just was too much to do. So at the moment we're not in London, but we are looking to get back there hopefully soon, by collaborating with some other local producers for deliveries as well.
Sure. I know that, I've certainly got 2 children who are in London who'd be delighted to hear that. So otherwise they have to go home with their cool bags full. Before we finish, very remiss of me actually not to mention those awards that are strategically placed, and rightly so, behind you. So, I know that back in 2019, the Observer Food Monthly Awards, that brought you obviously great, increased awareness when you won the Best Producer, and then the prestigious Golden Fork, which for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's like the Oscars of the food awards, and how proud we all were when you won that. And how does that make you feel, and then what impact does that have on your business as a result?
I think the Golden Fork certainly is hugely important, because our sort of branding, I like to think, gets the first sale, but actually if it doesn't taste any good, no one will buy it again. And those awards are based just purely on flavour, blind tasted. So that's a real proud one for us, because I don't think people often associate dairy with being so full of flavour. And obviously it's against every product, any product from any criteria and stuff. So that was a huge award for us. And the Observer Award was just amazing to have all these famous chefs taste it, and obviously the huge amount of media coverage, which then sort of led on to the BBC making a programme about the farm and Stroud Farmers Market and stuff last year, which was again led to a huge amount of coverage for us and awareness, and certainly our sales since then have gone up about sort of 20 or 30% just through that one BBC programme, which was a very very lucky for us to get that, really.
Oh, thank you. Well, I don't think we've got any more questions. I just have one more question for you, especially as a female entrepreneur, and you really have been inspirational and still are to so many people. I mean, a great bit of advice that I was given was always, you know, be kind and don't be ordinary. And you most definitely kind of aren't, you know, you are, I should say, you are kind, and you're definitely not ordinary in the way that you approach your business. What advice would you give to somebody starting off?
I think probably always be memorable. So probably it's a very similar to what you say, and that everything worth doing is always hard work, and it is a huge amount of hard work, but it's the rewards are are brilliant, and not always in terms of money or anything, but actually like the endless feedback and customers really enjoying our produce, and the awards as well. That sort of recognition is amazing to kind of boost you up a bit, but yeah, it is really hard work, but it's yeah, pretty rewarding. Well, thank you, Jess. Thank you for taking the time this evening and getting up that extra hour earlier this morning as well to fit us into your schedule. There are many people still saying, can they see the cows? Well, we can go and try again. Curly might have moved. So it's just Curly and 20 of his heifers, or I don't know if the cows will be. So the cows, I think the trouble is we could see the cows, but it's just the internet is probably going to drop out. Sure. So probably the best way to see the cows, although it's not live, is to follow us on our social media, Instagram stuff, and probably certainly every day I take multiple videos. I don't necessarily get time to put them up, but I do regularly post videos of the cows on there, and hopefully we'll also have an open day at the farm when COVID's perhaps calmed down a bit and it's all back to normal.
Thank you very much indeed. I must go, but it's been very interesting, and I can assure you that the board of directors will be following what's going on, and farming is not easy. I know, because I live in Shropshire, and yeah, really appreciate all that you said.
Oh, thank you ever so much.
And Pete, before we finish.
Yeah, on behalf of all of us, it's a thank you, Jess. But I think it would be wrong not to say thank you to Nikki and Georgia for their help and support they've given, not just to Jess, but all the local suppliers we have over the last 18 months or so. And just wanted to call that out to you two as a huge thank you on behalf of all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, everybody, thank you very, very much. And yes, thank you for certainly making it the highest attendance so far. We hope you found the session enjoyable and informative. This is the first of many different sessions that Mid-Counties will be running over the course of the year. So please visit our events page on our website to see what we have coming up over the coming months, and maybe join us again, as we would love to have you join us. So thank you very, very much. Thank you, Jess, and thank you, Karen, as well, for your support. And have a good evening.
Thank you for having me, guys, and listening, and thank you for supporting our business continually. So
yeah. Thanks for your excellent work, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.